Hello chickadees, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a cozy story time. I am cuddled up in my pajamas with my kitty on my lap. This is Lubert. And we're going to do a story time on my experience being homeschooled, what my thoughts are on it, and all the tea. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about homeschooling or anything else that I may leave out that you're like, what? I need more details on that. Let me know in the comments and I will definitely answer. So I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, but we moved to Portland, Oregon when I was 4 years old. So that's kind of like where the story begins, at least for me. My mom did choose to homeschool / unschool my older brothers, and I was added into that mix, obviously, part of the family. So unschooling is a form of homeschooling. Unschooling is about self-initiated learning. So instead of having a curriculum that you follow, it's more so about figuring out what the individual child needs and what they're passionate about, and then taking steps to educate surrounding those things. So I was really into arts, crafts, just expression, all forms of expression. And so a lot of my education, I don't know why I'm quoting that. A lot of my education was centered around those things. Now, I think that when most people think or hear the word unschooling, that they assume that I had no education, that I don't know how to read and whatever. The amount of times that I've read out loud to people, and they're like, "Wow, I didn't think that you were going to be able to read." I'm like, okay, just because I was unschooled doesn't mean that I'm not exposed to anything. And now I do think that there are some fuck-ass sick parents that purposefully take away opportunities to have an education at all, and that's disgusting in my opinion. I think that brand of homeschooling is horrible. It's child abuse, and I think that you should be ashamed of yourself if that's something that you're doing. But that wasn't the case for me. I had opportunities where my mind was challenged, where I was able to grow and learn and discover things. So I think that we were all kind of not being put in that position because my mom chose to lean into more of the Waldorf philosophy when it comes to homeschooling and all of that. There are real Waldorf schools. My younger brother is in one right now, but the philosophy is basically developed around educating and developing the whole child. So the brain, the heart, the hands, getting people moving. So they do this through experiences with art, movement, expression, actual schooling, those kinds of things. And having that be in a homeschool version, I don't think that I was given these poor opportunities to learn. I think that I was just learning in a way that felt, in my opinion, the best. Now, not everybody is going to have this great outlook on homeschooling. There are quite a lot of people that had trauma in homeschooling, that it was used to belittle or monitor the information that they were given. So a very biased and specific religious or racist point of view. And I think that that's awful. It's disgusting and it shouldn't really happen. But that, again, is not the case for me. I have been very open and honest about the fact that I do have CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and that does stem from my childhood. So not all things were great in my childhood, but the thing that I am so grateful and I loved the most was being homeschooled. So my experience with it, adore it. I love it. I think it's amazing. I do think that there are some things that I missed out on. I think that there are some things that I didn't learn for sure, but I'd never feel necessarily that I would go back and change the education that I did get. Maybe here and there, like little tweaks, but I think for the most part, I'm very happy with like how I turned out. So yeah, the idea of unschooling is about learning through living. So instead of you going, having information shoved down your throat, it's figuring out what you like as a person and developing your mind surrounding those activities. So I was in Girl Scouts. I loved Girl Scouts. I also did a lot of like homeschooling activities with other homeschoolers and their families. We would get together and do a lot of like educational stuff. I don't really remember too much from like my younger years, but I do remember learning a lot. But yeah, so there was a lot that I did learn and a lot that I think that just wasn't available to me, but it wasn't cut out from me. Like it wasn't restricted from me. If I had shown interest in it, or if I had like asked questions about it, then they would have provided information and got me more than enough resources to get the ball rolling and learning what I wanted. So yeah, I was in Girl Scouts, I was in swim classes, I did a lot of like art and pottery classes, I did a lot of rhythmic gymnastics with my best friend. And yeah, I mean, my life was really good, and I was given spaces and tools and classes to challenge and develop my brain. I was like constantly busy, go all the time in so many different classes. And because if I was showing interest in something, my mom was so quick to like put me in a class about it. So one of the things that I did struggle with a lot was reading. I didn't give a fuck about reading. I hated it. I didn't want to listen to people read to me. I hated trying to read books. It was miserable for me. And so that was one thing that I do remember my mom sitting down with me, and like she had these how to like learn how to read books like for kids, and she would try and get me to like do that with her, and I bawled my eyes out. I fucking hated it. I hated it so much. I had no interest. So I think that kind of stems from a few different things. One being that I am dyslexic. I am very neurodivergent. And so all of those things kind of like got in the way, but there was no diagnosis there. So I didn't have the special like tools that I needed to learn the way that would benefit me. So my older brothers, both of them learned how to read through playing video games. Literally, like one of them, I think he learned on the Game Boy of playing Pokemon all day. So like, that's what I mean. Like when I say learn through living, is that you just find your interests and you're going to have to learn things regardless, like surrounding what you are interested in. But I mean, I didn't like video games at all when I was younger, so I was not learning how to read through there. And yeah, I hated books. I didn't want to learn how to read. So, so I've never admitted this like out loud to the world before, but I didn't learn how to read like for sure until I was 8 years old. I didn't know how to read. And it wasn't until I was interested and I had this chapter book of princess and fairy tale stories, and I wanted to read them so bad. Like I wanted to be like this cute aesthetic girl in her room reading her fairy tales and like all that. And so I forced myself to learn like within a week. And then I read my mom a chapter and she was like, "Wow, you just like learned how to read?" And I was like, "Yes, I wanted to." And she was like, "Oh, well, that makes sense." So a lot of my education comes because I'm passionate, because I have a drive. And that is a blessing and a curse. Yes, I'm so grateful that I had the freedom to do that and experience what that's like. Also, it kind of sucks when I, as an adult, have to learn how to do something and I don't give a fuck about it. It definitely puts a barrier there. It definitely makes it hard for me to want to do it and for anything to really stick. That's one thing that I've noticed is like, Lubert, can you stop jutting your tail out at me? Chill out. Oh my God. Like if I have to learn something, then it kind of feels like a chore. And even if I do learn it, which I'm fully capable of, it's not going to stick. Like a year later, I have no idea what you're talking about. So only the things that I love, only the things that I'm passionate about really stick in my mind. When I was 8.5, we moved to Utah. And that was after my younger sibling was born. And we started to do more like structured homeschooling stuff. I remember like learning cursive. My mom had this big chalkboard and it was more of like what you would think when you think of like homeschooling. Like me and my brother sat down at a desk, like writing in a booklet and those kinds of things. And I fucking hated it in the moment, but I actually am really glad that I learned those basics. A lot of the math that I learned was through a curriculum, and so was like the English and the cursive, the handwriting, like all of those things, like how to write a letter, whatever. All of that stuff was more structured once we moved to Utah. But again, it was very, very loose still. It wasn't like this big woo-ha. So, I mean, it was still a good time. I was still vibing. Also, my mom made sure to immediately enroll me in as many classes as she could. So instead of doing a rhythmic gymnastics, I did regular gymnastics, and I got really fucking good at it and was starting to like go to competitions and all that stuff. Like I never wanted to like go to the Olympics, like go all the way, but I was super passionate about it and very dedicated. I loved being good at it. I was constantly getting blue ribbons on floor. Floor was my main gig. I was also very good at vault and beam. It was just bars. Bars is the thing that got me because I have a weak upper body. So, all right, bye, Lou, I guess. You even say goodbye. But yeah, so I was in a lot of classes, still doing Girl Scouts. My mom made sure to get me into the Girl Scout scene out here. Speaking of scenes, the homeschooling scene in Utah is ridiculous. It's actually kind of scary, because you have people that are either ultra Mormon, ultra Christian, and are teaching their kids a bunch of like sheltered information type stuff, or it's the ultra granola, like gross, nasty people that are teaching, again, their children really sheltered stuff. So it was kind of weird finding our way to like find the people that were somewhat sane. And there were like lots of groups and things. My brother joined a Yu-Gi-Oh club. I love that. But that's where me and him met our best friends growing up, like my childhood best friend. And that was fun, but we were all homeschoolers, and so we met and we were vibing, and finally like we started to make real connections outside of the scary ones. And let me be clear, there's nothing wrong with being granola. I'm a little granola. I'm a little hippie. But I shit you not, for example, one time my mom was hosting, I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was just us all hanging out or if it was like an actual homeschool get together thing, like where we were learning stuff. I don't really remember, but there was this woman that brought her kids. She had like 3 kids, I think, and they were all pretty young. But she at one point was like, "Do you have any cat food?" And my mom was like, yes. And she was like, okay, can I just have some in a baggie for my kids to snack on? I'm sorry, what? Disgusting. I was like, what the fuck? I would hate to eat cat food in a baggie. I'm sorry, that's disgusting. Also, in the same trip, in the same hangout session, two of her kids shit their pants while playing in our loft area, a little reading nook area, and the mother scooped the shit out of their pants and was like, can we use your washer and dryer? Bitch didn't even put it in the washer. She put the pants directly into the dryer. And so it was just hot, stinky shit in the basement where our washer and dryer were. Like, psycho people. People that are, like, crazy. So, I don't know. But, like, beyond that, they were very, like, holistic and blah, blah, blah. Except for, like, why would you feed your kids cat food? You don't even know what's in that. Cats, we don't even know what's in cat food. Most of the time, it's not, whatever. This is a total, like, tangent on what I'm talking about. But just know that there are some fucking crazy ass people in Utah. So yeah, as we kind of got acclimated to Utah and found our way, I started to make more friends, especially within like Girl Scouts. I loved all the people that were in my troop. And especially since that best friend that I met at the Yu-Gi-Oh club, she was there in like all homeschool groups that I was doing. So it was a vibe. I was chilling. As long as I had her and one of my other best friends, then I was chilling. I was vibing. Now, a lot of people seem to be like shocked or just surprised that when I talk about my homeschooling experience, that I'm like, yeah, I was in like groups, like homeschool groups. Like, I don't know why. I think that people just assume that you just sit in your home and that's where all the schooling happens. And like I said, like some people that have been homeschooled, I'm sure that was their dark and dreary experience. But for me, part of my homeschool experience and a lot of the other people that we were doing it with, we would all get together in different like groups to learn things. So we were in this group called Project Wild, and I don't think that it was exclusively for homeschoolers, but it was just about learning about the environment, ecosystems, national parks, like all those fun, cool things, like animals and stuff like that. And we learned a lot about those kinds of things and habitats and whatever. And then there was another one called Culture Club where every week or whenever we met, I don't remember, it might have been once a month. I don't know. I don't remember. Every time we met, there was a different country or a culture, and we all had to like write reports on something to do with that culture. And we also had like a potluck situation where we would all make a dish from that country or culture, and we would bring it, and everybody would try all the food. So like there were experiences in classes, like real stuff, where I did learn stuff, and I had to write reports. I had to like, learn how to do things. So it wasn't just like me not learning, which I think a lot of people assume when I say I'm specifically when I label it unschooled, that they're like, oh, so like you just don't believe in schooling, you just don't do anything at all. I'm like, no, that's not what it is. Let me educate you. So as I got older, I was about 12 years old, when my mom and dad encouraged me to try City Academy, which is a public charter school. I tried it. I was in 7th grade. I hated it. Everybody was already like acclimated to that type of environment of like real schooling, and I wasn't. And so it was very uncomfortable socially, but also there were a lot of bullies. I got physically and mentally cyberbullied, what it was. And the principal did nothing, so they pulled me out. So after City Academy, I went to this place called Sago Lily School. And that place was a school for unschoolers. And I think that's so funny. But yeah, it was a building, a school, and there were all kinds of ages from very, very, very young, like 4 years old, all the way up to like one of the older people there was like 15. There was a guitar room, there was a math and science room, TV and computer room, a reading nook room, there was a foam room where it was just full of like punching bags and like memory foam, like chopped up into blocks, and so you could like dive into it and play and like whatever. And then there was like a little kitchen area down at the bottom for you to like eat your lunch at and make food and cook and things like that. But yeah, I really loved it. Oh my god, girl, the sun is blinding, just this eye specifically. But yeah, I loved it. I had a really good time until it became a little bit boring, and then I started to like fuck around, quite literally. It wasn't that dramatic. I met a boy, and he became my first boyfriend, and we had sex. I lost my virginity to him, and I got pulled from the school. So my parents did not want me doing that stuff. So after leaving the school, I had time to just focus on my music. That's one thing I didn't mention. I was about 12 years old when I started to play the guitar, and I started to write my own music. Like, the same night that my dad gave me his guitar, I wrote my first song. So I was super, super into music, super into songwriting, all of the things, loved it. Fuck Taylor Swift now, but she was like my idol when I was younger. She's a horrible person. If you support her, then you can leave. Unsubscribe. Thank you. When I turned 15, we re-enrolled back into City Academy to give it another try, and I had a much better experience. The schooling, like the education part of it, I never really struggled with. I hated doing the homework. I hated doing it, but I didn't struggle with it. It was more so just the fact that I didn't want to do it. Like, it would be cool and exciting at first, and then it just quickly became boring and redundant. I think I lasted at that school about 4 months. I did make some good friends, and I did find a new boyfriend, and he introduced me to weed, and that started this whole addiction spiral and my journey with addiction. And if you want to know more about that, I have a 3-part story time on that. I ended up dropping out. I didn't want to do it anymore. My parents didn't make me, and I ended up just smoking weed in my room forever. Not forever, but for about a year. Then that boyfriend broke up with me. I was devastated, blah, blah, blah. It was horrible. The end of the world for me. And a few months after that, maybe even a year after that, my parents put me into Olympus High School, and I fucking hated that. Like, that school, I don't know how it is now. I'm sure it's the same, but like, it was full of the most preppy Mormon people. But I did stick it through long enough to just get my driver's license. I did driver's ed through there. And the only reason I was able to like actually do that is because my parents let me dual enroll. So I was part-time homeschooled, part-time in high school. And that could have been a cool thing if I enjoyed high school, which I just really didn't, and I didn't give a fuck about it. So yeah, I never got my high school diploma, was never even close to getting enough credits for that. I tried really hard at one point or several points to get my GED, but I didn't care enough. I just didn't care enough. And also my addiction really got in the way of that as well. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I have my homeschool diploma. Yay. I've got a homeschool diploma, and I've never had a high school diploma be a problem for me, or a GED, like the lack of it, because I am an entrepreneur. I do not give a fuck about working for people. I hate it. And if you want to know more about that, that was the first story time that I ever posted. So yeah, I mean, my life has worked out in the ways that it has because I'm who I am. I don't think that somebody who wants to work a corporate job or wants to like have more of a regular life would be happy with everything that I've been through in terms of schooling, but I'm happy with it. I like it. My opinion is that homeschooling is great, unschooling even better. But you have to do it right. And if you are limiting your child's education, if you are refusing to teach them things surrounding a certain subject because it doesn't align with your beliefs, then shame on you. Shame on you. That's child abuse. And I think that that's horrible. There are some people that I know of through some friends that I am friends with, and they don't know how to read. They don't know how to speak normally because their parents don't teach them anything at all. I also think that class had to do a lot with it. I'm lucky to have been able to be in so many classes. I don't know how my mom afforded it. She's got a lot of kids. They've all got a lot of kids. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She that was her full-time job. So it was my dad bringing home all the money. I don't know how they did it. So depending on, where you are in the world and what bringing up you have, what opportunities you have, what privilege you have, I think that could also go into it. I think school systems, while I do appreciate that a lot of teachers are really beautiful and amazing, I personally, this is just me, think that school is a load of shit. I think that people would be so much better off just taking specific classes on what they're interested in and not having a bunch of information shoved down their throat for 8 hours a day. I think that that's a recipe for burnout, and it's a recipe for suicide. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. For me, it was. So I don't know. I think that some people excel at school and they love it, and that's great, and I love that for them. And I'm not saying like shut down schooling and like defund education. No, not at all. But I think that the way that school systems are set up is not for success, and it's not for critical thinking, and it's not for the best. And I think that there are some major adjustments that need to be made that just aren't, and they're not even looking at it. But these are just my opinions. So yeah, thanks for listening to me about my experience with homeschooling, and hopefully you don't think I'm too weird now, but but yeah, that was my journey with it. And I'm excited to get back into doing some more story time, so hopefully this won't be the last. I look forward to the next one, and I love hanging out with you guys, so thank you so much for listening. Thank you for letting me talk your ear off. I love you all. I'll see you later. Bye.